Hey guys, what's up? So we're going to cover in this video the new version of Material UI. So there isn't a whole lot of stuff out there yet because it basically just got released not too long ago, or updated I should say, not released. Material UI has been in the business for a long time, and it's always been a great HTML and CSS framework, and it's very common among React applications, but it's not strictly made for React applications. You can use it in Angular, you can use it basically even without a JavaScript framework like React or Angular or Vue or anybody like that. You can use it just with plain JavaScript as well. But it really goes well with, not that it really goes well, but the documentation or the package that they made for React with Material together, it works really well. So it's very common among React players, and you know, if you're like me, I love React, so I use it a lot. Now the older Material UI was a lot smaller than the new one. The new one seems to be packed with a lot more stuff, and it's kind of putting Bootstrap to a challenge, because although Bootstrap has also increased and has gotten better, I think Material UI kind of went for broke and just they just added like all kinds of stuff to it. They just couldn't think of anything else to add to it. So it's really good. Maybe a little heavy, maybe a little bit bigger, obviously, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it really is that much heavy, although there are ways that you can slim down the application that you're in, the application that you can slim down the package that you're using, so that you're not bringing in every single thing that that exists, right? You can just use a few stuff in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get ourselves started here. Now what I wanted to use. All right, so first thing first, get your Visual Studio Code already opened up. We're gonna get ready to start. I am not going to explain how to create a React application or what apps or extensions I'm using in Visual Studio Code. I'm not gonna go over all of that, because otherwise this video is gonna get extremely long, and I wanted to keep it somewhat short but cover all of the basics of the new Material UI 5, or as it's being rebranded, MUI, just MUI. Okay, so if you need help with creating a React application, and if you need help with Visual Studio Code and how to put it together, how to get these extensions that I'm using, just look to my channel. I'm going to possibly link the video somewhere down here in the screen for how to create a React application and things like that. Or if I don't forget, I probably just look for it, and then use that to find your way around. Okay, but so we'll keep this just very short and sweet, just for MUI 5 only. Okay, but also I am not going to explain the entire MUI 5. There is a lot of components out there, so you kind of do have to do your own playing. But I am particularly going to go over the breakdown on how to put it together and how to use your theme, so that you can use it and then customize it to your fitting, because it really serves you no purpose to use a CSS or HTML framework if you're not going to customize it. Then it's gonna look just like what they have in their site, the default values, and you don't want that. So this is what I'm really gonna do here. So what I'm going to teach you how to get the MUI design and then change it around to make it fit your purpose. Okay, all right, so let's get started. So first thing that we want to do is we want to come over here and we're gonna create a new application. So I'm gonna go to my terminal, and I'm going to say, well, first of all, I want to know where I am. So let's open any folder, open folder, and let's go to my folder, my training room here that I use yeah, and I'm gonna create a new folder here. I'm gonna call it MUI, M-U-I. All right, that's done. And I'm gonna open it. All right, it's gonna take a few seconds. Close this right here. All right, so I am already in my MUI folder in here. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna create my React application. So npx to install my package altogether from npm, and that's gonna be create React app. And I think they have maybe a CRA, an acronym for this, like a small, like a shorthand. I don't know. All right, and I'm gonna call it this short and simple. I'm gonna call it MUI app, MUI app. It doesn't matter what you call it really. And I'm going to go ahead and let it do its thing. And it's gonna go through the motions of the oceans. All right, and if you don't want to look at my face while this is going on, you can go ahead and fast forward a little bit. But what's not to look at? All right, well, I can have some coffee. All right, so I don't know why that's taking so long. It should not take that long. I might have some kind of update in my computer that is probably running in the back, and it's making things a little slower than usual, but normally it's really fast. It looks like it's almost about done. All right, cool. So it created, if you shouldn't have any problems creating a React application. It's pretty straightforward, just like it is right now. If you do have any problems or figuring out what to do, like I said, you can go through my videos and figure it out, but you can just go directly to the React application and figure out how to create a new React application. So anyway, it says here now to CD into the app, and then, you know, and then do an npm start to run it in the browser. So what we're going to do is I'm going to CD into it, yes, and we tab so I can go straight into it. And then once I'm there, I'm actually going to put code space dot. The reason why I want to do that is because I want to open it in its own. You see how this is at that folder level? I want to be at that MUI app level, so I can just close that one in the back now because I don't need it anymore. And I'm gonna use this one. The reason why is because I can see my root structure here. You know, I can see all my folders and stuff like that. So close that search. All right, cool. So now that I'm here, I am going to go back in there again to my terminal. If you're having problems accessing this terminal, go into your extensions here and make sure that you have the extensions that you need. And there is another video that I have for this. Like I said, if not, then you may not have it. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just default right now for Visual Studio. I don't know. All right, so we're there now, and I'm there, and I'm at the root level. So I'm going to npm run start to run the application. If you're wondering why I'm doing that, why npm run start, because that's what it says here. This is npm run, and then this is the script to start the application. I said I wasn't going to explain this. Oh well. All right, so it's starting the development server, and I already have the browser already started somewhere else in my other screen. So yeah, there you go. This is the normal application. So I'm gonna get rid of all this stuff in here because I don't want this to be in the way. So just bear with me and just pause as much as you have to. So what do we have here? So in the app.js, so I'm not gonna use the logo, and I'm not gonna use this either, and I'm not going to use basically anything in here. So I'm gonna get rid of that, get rid of all that crap, and save it. And since I'm not gonna use it, I'm going to delete it from here as well, and I'm going to delete that logo. And this index CSS, I am going to delete what's in there because I don't want it to conflict with the styles that are going to come in from Material UI. So I don't want any conflicts in there. And in the index.js, this is just comments that I usually leave out in case I have to go in there. So just save that. What else we have here? All right, so I think that's about it. All right, so now let's see first if we are in the right place here. So I'm going to click hello and save it, and I should have a nice hello showing up here anytime soon. Maybe I have to refresh. There you go, hello. So it's working. So first thing I'm going to do is I like using classless components, so I am going to transform this into a classless component. But this is really what I just did is no different than just using a function component, you know, but I like to use classless components, so it shouldn't matter either way you use. All right, so now that I have that, the one thing that I do want to use is I want to use some components in here, and basic components, nothing crazy. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want you to see that the changes that I make global are actually working in two separate components, right? In the app component, which is the main component, and the component that I'm going to inject in there, which is going to be a test component, or like a page component or something like that. So I want you to see that it does affect the application globally, and then it's not just a localized change, okay? So what I'm going to do is at the source level right here, I'm gonna open a new folder and I'm gonna call it components. Yep, that's right. And inside of that component, I am going to then create a new component, and I'm gonna call it component. Nah, that's too page, home page. Let's call it home page. Let's call it a card, because I think I'm gonna use a card. Main card, image card JS. Make sure that I have that right. Image card JS, perfect. All right, so now that I have my component created, I'm going to create a RAFC. Okay, so if you don't know what I'm doing here, this shorthand right here, make sure that you have, go again through my extensions and see everything that I have in there. And there is an extension there, I forgot the name of it, but there is an extension in there that you can use these shortcuts that I'm using right here to create a bunch of code that you don't have to type manually. So like this RAFCE is basically a React arrow function export component, and it basically spits out this that you see here, which is a very already, you know, it's already built together and makes it a lot easier for me to use. So I click that, and you can see it brings even the name of the component, it brings it all together. So it's awesome. All right, so now to make sure that this is working, I am going to say hello from image card, and I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go to my app.js, and I'm going to import it there. Import image card right there from components image card, so that's good. And then I'm gonna come down here, image card, save it, and boom, there you go. Hello and hello from image card. So I have this coming in from this file, from this app.js, and I have this right here coming in from image card. Close that. All right, cool. So now that I have that, I need to start adding some CSS, some content, right? Something to it, right? So let's start working with, let's go to the application now, to MUI. So MUI.com, go to MUI.com so you can see basically the boilerplate that we're gonna work with, the framework that we're gonna work with. And when you click on, let me go back. Don't pay too much attention to this because that's not really what you're going to be importing in, right? Get to this get started right here, and it'll start telling you what you need to do for the installation. Go to the installation right here, and then you're gonna see that you need to install this stuff right here, okay? Which is right, but there is more to it, but we're gonna start with this. So copy this right here, and get back to your application, and then in here just click that so you can get another screen. That way you can have you can have the server still running and you don't have to stop it. And then in here just paste that npm install MUI material, which installs the material framework. Emotion React, which is, I'm not gonna go into a rabbit hole with this, but Emotion is kind of like its own package inside material. Let's just go with it. And it's basically, this one is serving specifically for React, and this one is an emotion styled. So just do that. And just because I know you're gonna need this, I'm gonna cut you some, save you some of the footwork of what you're going to need, because you're gonna need a little bit more than this. I don't know why they don't add it directly on the page, on this website. They should just basically add it right there, but they don't. So I'm gonna tell you where it is. You see what it says, Styles Legacy. I'm gonna click on that, go to Basics, and then there is this one right here, MUI Styles. You're going to need that one as well. So put that in there. And then the last one you're going to need is going to be in the components and the icons, because chances are you're going to use icons. And you're gonna do this MUI icon material. And you're gonna add that to the back of that as well. And then the last thing is gonna be dash save, so it can save into your dependencies, and they are ready to be used, basically packaged in together when everything is good put together. So go ahead and hit enter and saves, and this, like I said, is going to install everything that you're going to need in order to run Material UI and design it and customize it, template it, do whatever you want to do with it. All right, so it's done. You should be done as well. It's a pretty easy, pretty fast, straightforward information there. All right, so now that we have access to that, oh, what the hell? All right, so now that we have access to that, we're gonna start now creating some themes, okay? But before I create some themes, we need something to style, right? So we're gonna need actually some HTML. So I said I was gonna use a card. So let's go down here to the card, and you can see here, look at this components. Look how many components they're bringing, for you to use. I mean, this is incredible, it's huge. Anyway, so let's go to card right here. And I'm gonna grab a card from here. So this is the normal card. This one is outlined with the needle, just got a variant on it. Like you see here, variant outline. So this is the HTML that you would need for a normal card that just be this that you have there. Let's use a little bit all right, so media, this one. All right, so let's use, what's the difference? Okay, I don't see a difference in these two right here, but I'm not gonna go too much into that stuff. So let's use one of these only because it has buttons in here, so we can work with that as well. So I'm going to click on the code thing there, and I'm going to bring in this entire card HTML there. And I'm gonna go to my image card, and I'm going to replace that div with my card. Now you can start seeing already that there's going to be some issues here. It's because this is not HTML. This card right here, that's not an actual HTML tag, okay? That is a component call, okay? You're making a call to a component called card. So therefore you have to import that component so it knows that you're making a call to that component with these properties or whatever, right? So I'm going to import card from material. Is this the actual one? Let's see. Yeah, from material. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add these. If you notice, these right here, they actually calling card from material card action from material card action, card content from material. So they're spreading everything separately. I don't like doing that. I'd rather just basically come over here, and then as long as it's in between squirrely brackets, you can put it in there and separate them by commas, and they are all being, you're basically importing the entire MUI material, but you're making calls to this specific section, to specific components that are inside of UI material. So don't be afraid to use it this way. All right, leave a little space in there. Let's do that one. What else? Cart actions. And then the last one is going to be button. Cool. All right, so now if I hit save and I go over here, I should have an image card with nothing in it. I mean, not nothing, but no image in it. So, all right, so we're missing the lizard, the iguana. So what we're going to do is I'm going to right click on the image and open the image in new tab and get it right here. And I'm going to save image as, and I'm going to go to that MUI folder that I have, this MUI where my application is. I'm going to open the application. I'm going to open the SRC folder. And then right here, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it assets. And then I'm going to create another folder inside there, and I'm going to call it images. And then that's it. This is whatever I want to call it. I can call it contemplative reptile, I can call it whatever, iguana, whatever you want to call it. That one is fine. And I'm going to save it. I can close that tab now. So if you can see now, I have an assets here with an image folder and then that, right? So I'm going to import that image. So I'm going to say import, and I'm going to call it iguana. And that's going to come from one more step back. There you go. Assets, images, contemplative reptile. There you go. And I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to find that image right there, and I'm going to delete this, and in between square brackets, and I'm going to put iguana, because what I'm doing is I'm injecting, this is why you see the square brackets, I'm injecting a reference to this import. I'm telling it, hey, put in here whatever is being imported here, and then it's going to go fetch it here, and that's how it basically travels all the way over here. Okay, so if I hit save, now I should be able to see my lizard. All right, this SX right here, let's talk about that a little bit. So what is that SX? So in the introduction of this MUI system that they have now, this MUI 5 or Material UI, they created this property right here for styling, right? Which is basically a prop that you can add any inline styles that you want to your application. But careful, you can use something like this. You can use something like that, okay, as you would with normal HTML styling. That will create an error because it's not supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be, when you're working with JSX, you're supposed to use camel casing. Yes, camel casing, sorry. Camel casing. So you have to use it this way. Any numbers, any integers, you can leave them like this. But if you want it to be, for example, say for example, you're gonna add a padding, and the padding is gonna have two different measures, like 10 pixels by 20 pixels. You can't do this, okay? You can't do that. If you're gonna break that down like this, then you actually have to turn it into a string and put 10 pixels and 20 pixels. Then you actually have to do it this way, okay? And I show you, if I do that, then you can see the padding now. It's adding the padding, 10 pixels on the top and then 20 pixels on the side, okay? But if you're just only gonna use one pixel all around, you can use padding 20, and it just adds now padding 20 to everything like that. So it's going to use different thing. I think this is REMs. Let me see, right click on that, let's look at it. Padding. Oh, right here, 160. Okay, so it's used a different way of rating these things right here, and we're gonna go over that a little bit, and then actually, let's go over that right now. So let's go to the SX prop right here. So the best way to find it is just type in SX and then here the SX prop. And it'll teach you here what the SX prop is and how to use it. So it's part of the MUI system, and it's great to use because it has a lot of shorthand that you can use, and automatically adds a lot of stuff to your code that you can use while you're in inline styling mode, okay? Not globally, something you're gonna use to that particular tile on that particular one right there that we're using. And you can see some examples here of how to use it and things like that. And then how do you know what to use? You can basically come down here and you can see the prop that you can call. So if you want to use a margin, you can just use M. So in this case, because I am going to actually use this the correct way, you see how it's really stuck to the word hello up there? I'm actually gonna use that now. I'm gonna put M2 4, and that's going to bring it margin top down by 4 measures of whatever that is. And there is a calculation of what these numbers are. 4 is not exactly 4 pixels. It's like 4 units. I don't know. It's weird. In this case, it's 32, I think. Yeah, 32. So I think it's multiplied by 8, maybe, for some reason. I don't know why. So you can use MT for margin top, MR for margin right, and so on and so forth. And then you have the paddings over here, things like that. And so there's a bunch of stuff that you can do with this SSX. So there it is. All right. All right. So let's continue. Let's move it on. All right. So now I'm going to use another component on the app.js right here. So I don't have this hello here. And the reason why I want to add another component up here, because I want you to see, like I said at the beginning, I want you to see 2 components being updated at a global stage. Okay. So getting back to here, I'm gonna use a Nav Bar up there, like, or an app bar is what an app bar is what the MUI Material UI calls it. Nav Bar is what Bootstrap calls it. So here's the app bar, and we can use, let's just use a normal one. Nothing major, no big deal. All right, so we're gonna go to this box right here, and we're gonna go to the app.js, and we're gonna add it in there where hello is. Get some spacing, and now you can see now that of course you have to start adding some of the stuff in there. So we're gonna import this box right there from, nope, not that one, from material. There you go. And now we can start adding the rest of the stuff. So the app bar and the toolbar and the icon button and the nope, not the menu icon. We'll wait on that one. Typography and button. Boom. Now we're gonna import the MD icon. What's it called? Menu icon. Right there. From icons material, I think. Let me make sure for sure. Icon material. So the menu icon is gonna come from menu icon. Okay, and then you gotta specify which one out of all the menu, from menu. There you go. So the menu icon is gonna come from there. Cool. So I'm gonna hit save on that, and error. What'd I miss? MUI material. All right, let's look at. Let's see what we got here. All right, check the app for what? Error. The element class function. It got undefined. On cut error. Element type is invalid. Expect a string for built-in components. What is he talking about? Oh, because the menu icon doesn't go into, I mean, if you wanted to, if you do it like this, it will work, I believe, because you're not specifying the actual menu, but then you will have to call it menu, not menu icon. All right, so it's this way, but without the, and then it'll work. Compiling, compiling, compiling. All right, come on now. There it is. Cool. So we're working. All right. So now, so here's the thing that I want you to, because we're about to get into the theming part. This is what I want you to pay attention to here. You see how this blue right here and this blue right here are just, you know, you can tell, right, that it's using blue. So that's the primary color that it's using. So if you look at these Nav Bar here, for example, this should have a primary and the button. Okay, it doesn't, but that's because it's by default. So let's check on that actually. Let me close. Let me close this. Let me close this. All right, so let's go to. We're already in the Nav Bar, right? So let's go down to the API down here of the Nav Bar, and let's look at it. And you can see, there you go. So you can see the props for the Nav Bar. That the color, you can use all of these colors in the Nav Bar. Right here, you can use primary, secondary, transparent, whatever. You can use a bunch of different things, but by default it's going to be primary, and that's why it's already blue. Okay, so you don't have to actually specify to be primary. It's going to be primary by default. Okay, if we look at the button that we're using here, by clicking on the button, I can see that the color, again, you can use these colors that you, if you want to use, but the default is going to be primary, and that's why you see that they are blue. And the background, okay, the background, which is the variant, is going to be text, which is why you see it right here without an actual button looking, which it looks more like just a text. Okay, if I wanted to change that to look like anything different, then I could make those changes. Like I could call it variant, what was it, contained, for example. Oh, that's this one, that's this one, that's the login. Let's just get rid of that. Let's go to the image card. We're here, we're on the share here, right? So variant contained. And now if I do that, now it shows it like these buttons, the contain ones. So just to show you what I mean, let's go to the actual component. And you know, like that. This is the basic button, which is, this is the text, this is the contain, and this is the outlined. These are the three different variants that it comes with, you know. Let's use a different kind of button for the sake of, you know, for the nature of it. We're gonna use a fab, and the reason why I want to use a different button is because I want you to see later the difference between a button and a fab button. So I'm gonna go ahead and, first of all, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change that for a fab, because I'm not gonna use button in this component. I'm gonna use a fab instead. And then I'm gonna come right here and change that to fab. I'm gonna get rid of this variant because I'm not gonna use that anymore. And I'm going to hit enter, and I'm gonna get that thing that normally it comes round by default. So if I go to fab, just going to be a couple more stuff that I need to get what I'm looking to get out of it. Where is it? Man, they have made this thing so big. It's hard to find anything. Fab. Okay, I'll find it like this. There you go. Right there. So there is a variant called extended. So I'm gonna use that variant. And I'm gonna use that variant extended. And then now they're used like this, okay? And then another thing I'm gonna do is, because I want them to be I want it to look different, right? And so I'm going to add a color to it. I'm gonna make one primary and the other one secondary. So I'm going to grab this one right here, and I'm gonna make it a color primary, and then this one is going to be color secondary. And there you go. Now I have my primary and my secondary color, which in this case they are automatically by default. There's going to be blue and purple. Okay, so that's the way that Material UI, these are the colors that Material UI comes from out of the box with. Okay, and you can, if you like these colors and this is all you want, then you're good to go. But imagine if you had to build a bunch of applications for different clients or customers or for your job, and then everything that you made was blue and purple. Not really good, right? So you have to have different ways. You have to have the ability to theme your application and turn things into different colors. So we're gonna get into the theming part now and see how we can do this. So the first thing that I'm going to do in order to change things around is I am going to come over here into my assets folder right there, and I'm going to create and add a new file, and I'm going to call it theme.js. And I'm not gonna camel case this one. I'm gonna put it in regular small letters because it's going to be somewhat of a configuration type of JavaScript file. Okay, so whenever I want to use a file for specific configurations of things, I usually leave it like that, like an API file. I put an API.js, settings.js, config.js, all of that stuff. I leave it with small letters, right, undercased. So I hit enter, and then the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a const variable, and I'm going to call it theme. And what was that? And then in that theme, I'm actually going to, you know what? I'm starting backwards. So the first thing I want to do basically is I want to import create. I want you to see it from here. Yeah, there you go. Create theme from material. All right. So I'm going to import this because this is the function or the package of the component. This is the component that Material UI has provided for you to create a theme of your own. All right. So with creating this, with the create theme, you can start creating different colors. Now here's the thing. When you want to, not everybody is really good at picking out colors and understanding what goes with what and all of this stuff. So if you go to the documentation again and you look for, let me close this. Is it customization? Yeah. If you come here and you look for color, there you go. You can see here how the documentation already gives you some ideas of what, colors and contrast between colors and things like that. Okay, and it also gives you this right here that I was actually just talking about, of how to create a theme and all of this good stuff right here. Now, this right here, the playground, this is really actually pretty cool because this actually allows you to move around from colors and do a primary and a secondary color and then mess around with it to see what you will like and things like that, and then you change it around. So this is what you like. For example, if this is the combination that you want to do, something like that, for example, something like this, then all basically you have to do is just copy this code in here and you're already on your way. Okay, so but if not, then you can always do it yourself. But let's go ahead and do it. Start with something here. So I'm gonna grab this const theming here, for example, and I'm gonna grab that and copy and paste it here. So what I'm doing here is basically I'm creating a theme that I'm storing inside of this variable called theme, because I'm gonna use that somewhere else later. But basically what this is going to hold is all of the settings that are inside of my create theme in here, which are this right here and then some more that we're gonna add. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to set up a palette. Okay, so the palette is, like I said, this right here. Like, how do you want, which one you want to be your primary colors and your secondary colors and all that. So if you want to know what your palettes are or what they should be, if you go to, give me a moment. Where is it? This color palette, no, that's not it. That's a good, okay, that I'm gonna look, oh, there you go, right there. All right, so if you go to the palette, you can tell already what is it that you're going to need and what is it that comes with out of the box from Material UI. So as you can see, the primary color, these are the primary colors. This is the main primary color, which is the one that you're seeing up here. And they also have specifications for a light primary and a dark primary. So these right here in the middle are going to be your primary, secondary, error, warning, info, all of that, right? And success. And then for every color that they have a lighter version and a darker version. And these are all default, the default values. These right here are the default values for these particular colors in the palette that Material UI already defined for you. But you're not going to use these. You're going to change them. So how do you change them is by creating this right here. And how do you know what to put inside of this right here is basically exactly what you see the name here. So if you wanted to change, for example, let's say you like all of these, but you don't like the palette warning dark. Let's say you don't like this color right here and you want to change this one. Palette warning dark. Palette warning dark. That's how you change it. And then in here you change it to whatever color you want. I just make it black. That's weird, but sure, why not? So there you go. So now next time you use your a warning button and you specify that you want to use the dark warning button, it's going to be a black button. Okay, so we're not going to use that. So that's just to show you how to change the color. So this is how we're changing the main color. We're changing this main color, which is blue right now, to this purple 500. Now what does that mean? What does that purple 500 mean? Well, in order for you to do that, you're gonna have to bring in your colors. Actually, in this case, it's going to be purple from MUI material colors. MUI material colors. All right, so just to show you, you can see right here, for example, they're importing this blue right here from MUI material colors blue, but we're gonna use more than one, right? We're gonna use, we're gonna stop it right here. We're gonna get rid of the blue and we're gonna stop it right here so that we can start bringing more than just one color. So in this case, we're bringing purple, but we're also going to bring, say, orange, and we're also going to bring red. I don't know, let's just bring a bunch. You can see already that once you start bringing in colors, it tells you already, it helps you out. This is Visual Studio doing this, okay? This is not React, this is not Material UI. This is Visual Studio helping you out. So again, this has to do with checking out my extensions and, you know, to help you out when you're developing. But this is your main colors that you're going to use. And then what I like to do is I like to create variables, if you will, for these colors, so I don't have to use them the way that they call it themselves. So like, for example, and so I can specify which specific shade of that color I want to use. So let's say, for example, for my primary color, I'm gonna call it primary color. For my primary color, and I like using, whenever I'm using any kind of variables, I'm naming my variables in camel case because that's just the convention, the best way to use conventions, naming conventions. So my primary color, I'm going to use purple. And which specific shade of purple is going to be, well, let's see. which one do I like? So let's go back to color and let's go see. And here's the purple. So how do you know what to call? I mean, purple, white, magenta. How do you know the color, which color exists and which color doesn't exist? You know, I don't think there is a magenta. There is a magenta, right? Now you could get to a magenta. What would a magenta even look like? This? Yeah, you could get to the magenta or something like that from targeting the family of the purples. So this is what you do. This is the name you import, and this is the variation of the hue for that particular color. So in this case, let's say I want to use this one right here, this particular purple. I'm gonna use purple 600. So from here, I'm gonna use purple 600. What was it? Here, purple 600. And then now here, where I'm basically calling that name, you know, by deep, you know, and directly like that, I'm actually gonna call this primary color that I just created, and I call it this way. So I'm defining it up here, storing it there, and then changing it here. Now you're thinking, now why? What's the difference between this or the way that I had it before? Nothing. No difference. It will work the same way. But when you store it inside of a variable, you can make the change on it in one place instead of in a bunch of places later on as your application grows. So like, let's say for example that this was actually a lot larger than just these 6 or 7 lines of code. Let's say this thing was huge and it had like hundreds of lines of code with hundreds of different styles, and you're targeting this primary color in 25, 40, 50, 100 places. If you had this directly into each one of those values, you will have to change it, and you needed to change it to like a purple 700, then you have to change that and everywhere else. As opposed to if you have it this way, then you only have to change it here, and it would automatically change the value for that primary color variable, which is named in the other 50 to 100 places that you named it. So that's why I like doing it this way. That's why everybody should do it this way. So I'm gonna create a couple more, and I'm gonna call this one secondary color. And my secondary color is gonna be my orange. And for that orange, I'm going to use, where are the oranges? This is the orange. I'm gonna use, I don't know, 500, yeah, sure, 600. Yeah, I'm gonna use 600 too. I'm gonna leave it at 600. All right, 500, yeah, 500. I'm gonna use 500. All right, and then the next one is going to be my danger color. What the hell did I do? Danger color, and that one is going to use my red, and this one is going to come, what did I have, 900. So that one is going to use this dark one right here, this red 900 right here. I want it to be a little bit more intense. I don't know why. I don't think it doesn't matter. All right, so I'm gonna call this secondary color, and I'm gonna call it in here. Now remember, don't use it like this. If you use it like this and you're using it as a string, which means that it's going to actually look for a color named secondary color, which doesn't exist. What you want to do is a variable that contains a value of this in it. Okay, so you want to use it like that. And then now the danger color. So how do I know what is going to be the next? So what, ternary? What do I call the next value in the palette? Ternary. Well, let's see what's in there. So let's look at the palette and let's see what the palette colors are. And it tells you right here, you have primary, secondary, error, warning, info, and success. So those are the values that you can use. In this case, it will be error. So I'm gonna put my error is going to, and then from my main, because I don't want the dark or the light, I want the actual main. I got a little ahead of myself. There you go. And that one is going to use danger color. Cool. All right, so now you can see that I have defined already my palette to have a new primary main, a new secondary main, and a new error main. So that's going to change the colors here. So when and then obviously I have to export this because otherwise I can't use it anywhere else. So export default theme. Whoa. Export default theme, and I hit enter, and then once it refreshes, what do you think it should happen? Why it didn't change? Because we had created the file, but we're not really telling React to use it anywhere, right? So now is where we actually get to apply this stuff. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to, excuse me, to the app folder right here, and let's just minimize this stuff. And a couple of things that I'm gonna do. So these components right here, I usually like to I like keeping these components in the bottom, these ones. Not my component that I created, actually the components from, like this component, buttons, and the actual building components, the building pieces. I like to leave this stuff like at the bottom of all my imports, so that they're easy to find, because you're gonna have clients, or you're gonna have your boss or whatever, that after you created a bunch of stuff, it's gonna tell you, oh, you know what, I don't really want buttons, can you take those buttons out, can you add a different button instead, and then now you're just gonna have to start moving things around. And so instead of, you can just go straight to the bottom, and that they're all gonna be there, and you can just change them there. So that's why I'm making this space here, because I like to keep those in the bottom and put my stuff in the top. So now we're gonna import a couple of things here. First thing we're gonna import is going to be the theme provider, which is from here, from material, the theme provider from material. And then the next thing is going to be the theme from, the thing that we created from assets theme right there. Cool. So now that we created that, we're going to now use this theme provider, and we're going to wrap the entire application with it. Cut that part out, go to the bottom, put it there, and then we're going to say, for my theme, use the theme. Okay, so this part is going to be a little confusing to you. You're probably thinking, what the hell is a theme equals a theme? That's what's going on here. Basically, this is basically saying to the theme provider component from Material UI that you're going to use a theme, and this is the name of the theme that you are using. Okay, because this is kind of confusing, and I can see how this turns into a problem when you want to name things. It's never really a good idea to name things the same name as your prop. That's why I like to keep things named a little different. So just for the sake of seeing how this works and seeing the difference, I'm going to use custom theme here. I'm going to name my import custom theme. Name it as well there, custom theme. And then obviously for that to happen, I have to come over here, and oh, look at that, it's starting to change. And I'm going to put custom theme in here, and custom theme in here. All right, so as you can see, you see the changes already, that we're working with. The primary color is no longer blue, and the secondary is no longer purple. It's now purple and orange. Okay, so you can see the changes that are already happening, and you can see that it's happening globally, because the Nav Bar here, or the app bar, or whatever this is called, this is actually in the app JS file in here. This is in here. Right, this is all this right here, and then this card right here with these buttons is inside of this image card right here. So it is affecting globally, which is the good thing about what we're trying to do here. But that's not enough. You don't want to just be able to just change colors, because although that's great, yeah, you should be able to, you should want to know how to create colors and change colors. You should be able to do a little bit more than just that. You should be able to actually, for example, change, like in this particular example, right? You see how when you hover, the share gets a little darker and you can still read it and it's fine. When you hover over this secondary button right here, you can see how the color goes a little dark. It goes dark and then you can really tell anymore, because it's a good color for the normal one, but not a good color for the hover. So you got to change this stuff, okay? And how do you change that is by making a better use of this theme by targeting specific items, and it's not that specific button itself, but those buttons that are consistent in color and shape and type of button, if that will, if you will. So how we're going to do that? Well, let's go ahead and see what's being used in there. If we inspect this, we're gonna see here these classes right here. So copy those classes and let's just come over here just so we can see what we're working with, and just hit a new line here at every beginning of MUI, and you don't need this last ones. And this tells you right here the composition of this particular button, on how it's being composed by Material UI. So first of all, you're gonna see that it's using the MUI button base, right? So what does that mean? It means that it is at its most larger scope, it is a button, right? So do you want to make the change at this type of scope? No, because then whatever you do there, let's say for example you want the text to be white, if you do it at this level, then that's going to make every button text white. Not just these particular buttons, but every button that you have in this one, which is fine because that's white already, but it's gonna make every button white. You don't want that, so you want to get rid of that. You're not using that one. Fab. Okay, so now we're narrowing it down. Now it's not just every button, but every button rounded, every rounded button. That's what fabs are. Fabs are the type of button that is rounded, like a pill. So do you want to do it at this level? Not really, because this will make every button that is rounded, it will make it also white as well. And that may not be a good idea, because say you were doing the background, for example, then you're going to make changes on both of these buttons at the same time. You don't want to do that. You want to make changes only on the buttons that are orange, right? Those are the ones that are having a problem. Those are the ones that, the concerning ones is not this one. The concerned ones, the concerned buttons are the ones that are orange, right? So maybe not all fab buttons. The extended ones, okay, maybe not either, because that's also going to affect this one as well. So you see what I'm going with. Size, small. Again, this is also size. You don't want to change all of the size ones, all of the size small ones. And then we have this, the MU fab secondary. Now we're getting somewhere. So now you're going to make, if you make a change to this particular prop, you're gonna make a change to all of those fab buttons that have a secondary variant, like in this one. So that will work, because that will make all of these orange fab buttons, change to whatever you want to change. So that's how you do it. So basically that was just an overall breakdown. That was just a breakdown of how you can tell what you need to change at what level, so that you don't make changes that you eventually go into conflict with other stuff that you shouldn't change. But the right way to do that is if you go to the fab buttons right here. Oh my god, I'm trying to find that again. Let's just do this. Fab component. If you go to the component and you go down to the API and click on that. Okay, if you go down to the CSS part, you get to see all of that I just spoke. That I just told you about, that I just spoke. You can see this right here, this rule name is what you use to to target this particular classes that you just saw. So if I want to target all of the MUI fab roots, this is the rule name that I will be using, or that I will be overriding. And if I want to change all of the MU fab secondary, this is what I want to use, and so forth. Okay, so how are you going to change that stuff? And let's go again to see another example in customization and in theming, and it'll show you. Let's look for the actual how to customize overriding CSS variables. I'm trying to find the one that it's hard to find it anywhere in this. The documentation is so good, but it's so big. Global styles. All right, let's see. Let me see what I want to find it as. Let's look. Style overrides. Yeah, right here. So what was this? Styled. Okay, so look for this styled. It's in system. That's where it is. So if you go to system and you go to styled, then you're going to see, you just go down here, we'll see style overrides is what you're looking for basically. And right here, global style overrides. So this is how you override an actual component that you want, that you don't like the way that it came from Material UI, and you want it to look different because it, should fit your application, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab this right here, and you're gonna head over to your, you can get rid of this guy here because that was just for explaining. Underneath your palette, you're gonna copy and paste. I'm just gonna paste that. Let's get rid of these comments here for now. And this right here, the first thing you want to do is target the component that you're going to be using, right? So in order to figure out how to, work what, we're going to go back to the fab component. This is CSS, global theme, overriding, how to customize, theming, fab. There you go, CSS. All right, and then first thing you want to know is you're gonna figure out which component you're changing, which is the MU fab. You can see that everything is it's pretty much, tells you which component you're changing. So MU fab, MUI fab. So I am going to change this to MUI fab because that's what I'm changing, the MUI fab. Then this right here, it's basically an instruction for these rule sets, these theme rule sets, that it basically saying, hey, I want to override the style for this MUI fab. Okay. Now, if you make an overall a root, if you make a root change, if you make a change inside here, it's going to apply to all of the fab buttons. This is why I said about being careful about what you override, because if you do it at the root level, you're gonna change them all of them. So just to explain, I am going to do a background color. Yeah, background color, and I'm gonna make it red. And if I hit save, oh, it didn't, huh? Why didn't it? Style overrides. Oh, I missed, okay, sorry. So I missed something here. So first thing is you are doing not the palette anymore, you're doing components. You're changing the components now. All right. Components. Okay. So there you go. You see, because I changed the root level, it changed all of the fab buttons. See that? Let's do some more changes here so we can see. Let's get rid of this size here so that it's a regular size. Actually, you know what? No, let's make it size large. Is there even a size large? Let me see. Size, yeah, large. Yeah, size large. All right. So now that I made a different size, there's going to be changes here, right? So look at this. At the root level, I added the property at the root level. That made every fab button red. Bad juju, right? Shouldn't have done that. And so, oh, okay, so what do I need to do then? Let me see. What if I do it at the, let's look for the size small, which is going to be this. Let's do it at the size small level then. Okay, that gave me back my purple over here, which is good, but now this is affecting all of the size small. So if I had another primary, color here that was also small, it's still going to be red, even though it is a primary color, because I am targeting this size small. So so this one was untouched because this is not small, but I'm still changing everything that is small. So you see how it's, so what is it that I'm really targeting here? I only want to target this guy because this is the secondary one. So now if I put secondary, then I am now affecting only this one. So now the primaries will remain purple, even regardless of the size, regardless of anything. I am basically pinpointing the changes to the particular type of component that I want to change. So I can go ahead and change that back to normal and put everything the way it was. And there it is. And then now I can just do what I actually wanted to do, which is change. Let me go ahead and delete this. Now that I know that I can change that by adding something in here, then I can do what I actually want to do, which is change the color of the text to white when I hover. And now that's going to be a little tricky because this is something that you may not have seen before. You got to add it in as a string, and then you got to add this in there to make it even weirder. And then you're gonna add the regular pseudo class from CSS, hover. So that part is gonna be a little tricky, but that's the way it's done. And then now in there, oops, I don't want that to be an issue. And then now in there, then I can say that I want that color to be white. So what I'm saying here is on the components, I want to change my components. I want to change the fab components, and then I want to override the styles, but not just all fab components, just the ones that are secondary, the orange ones. The purple ones are fine, okay, regardless of size, regardless of what they are. But not just all secondary natural states of those fab buttons, but the hover state. So I'm going to add this instruction here, and then what is it that I'm doing to it? That I'm changing the color to white. So as you can see, it's black, but when I save, then now it's white when I hover over it. And that's basically how the cookie crumbles. Okay, so this basically shows you how do you change a component. If you wanted to change any other components like the Nav Bar right here, then you basically just do the same thing. You just come over here to the MUI Nav Bar. There you go, and you know what to do from here. You got to open that up, and then you got to do the style overrides. You gotta do the style overrides and then do whatever it is that you need to do. Most likely, if you want to change the color, it's gonna be at the root level. So, and I'm going on a whim here. I'm gonna guess, but if I have any doubts, I can look for this CSS part and these rule names and global classes and all that at that place. So I just look for the app bar, wherever it may be up here. I look for the app bar and I go down to find this right here. Okay, so yeah, I was right. It is at the root, and here it is. So at the root, I'm going to make sure I don't like this or purple one, for example. I can go ahead and put background. Yep, background, and I wanna name that danger color. So that's not gonna be a string then. And there you go. Now I have a red nav bar or app bar or whatever you want to call it. So that's basically how you change it. If I want that also, if another thing that I want to do to it is I want to make sure that it has a margin bottom of 50. Then I can do that, and it adds 50 pixels more to the bottom. So now what that does again is that every time I use an app bar from now on, every app bar that I use, no matter where I use it, is always going to be red, and it's always going to have 50 pixels attached to it at the bottom of it. So remember, this right here are global changes. So this that I just did right now to the app bar may not be smart, because I may want to use an app bar somewhere else, and I may not want it to be red with 50 pixels on the bottom. But this is just for explaining what I'm doing, okay? For explaining how it works. All right, guys, so that's all I have. I mean, I think what I cover is actually pretty good, because you can build on this and you can make this really customizable. All right, so have fun with it, try it out, and leave me some comments in the comment and let me know how it works. All right, and don't forget to do the whole subscription thing or whatever it is that the kids are doing these days. I don't really care. I'm just here to teach it. All right, have a good one, guys.